The Galactic Military Academy's training hall buzzed with the nervous energy of first-year cadets from dozens of species. Towering Vorthon warriors with their chitinous exoskeletons clicked their mandibles in anticipation, while the sleek, serpentine Nexari coiled and uncoiled their muscular bodies. At the far end of the mat, a lone human sat cross-legged, eyes closed in apparent meditation. Cadet Zix Thara of the Krelak Empire surveyed the scene with predatory satisfaction. Standing nearly 3 meters tall on powerful digitigrade legs, his violet scales rippled with barely contained muscle. His species had dominated 17 star systems through sheer physical superiority, and he had no intention of letting that reputation falter at some multi-species academy. "Combat assessment begins now," announced Instructor Valdris, a battle-scarred Centaurian whose mechanical arm whirred softly. "Choose your opponents for hand-to-hand evaluation." Zix Thara's yellow eyes swept across the assembled cadets, dismissing the obviously formidable ones. The Vorthons were too well armored, the Nexari too quick, but there, still sitting motionless, the human. Zix Thara had read the species files. Average height, no natural weapons, no enhanced physiology. They were the galaxy's newest members, having barely achieved faster-than-light travel a century ago. What could one possibly know about real combat? "I choose the human," Zix Thara declared, his voice a rumbling bass that carried across the hall. Several cadets turned to watch, some with anticipation, others with what might have been pity. The human, his nameplate read Chen Marcus, opened. His eyes slowly and rose to his feet with fluid grace. He was unremarkable by galactic standards. Medium build, brown skin, black hair cropped short. He wore the same standard-issue training uniform as everyone else, though his seemed somehow more lived in. "You sure about this, big guy?" Marcus asked, stretching his arms overhead with casual indifference. Zix Thara's ridge crest flared in annoyance. "Your species' arrogance will be its downfall, mammal. I will demonstrate why the Krelak have never lost a single combat." "Never lost, huh?" Marcus stepped onto the circular mat, rolling his shoulders. "Well, there's a first time for everything." The other cadets formed a loose circle around them. Instructor Valdris raised his mechanical hand. "Standard rules. No lethal force, match ends at submission or knockout. Begin." Zix Thara lunged forward with lightning speed, his clawed hands reaching for what should have been an easy grapple. His kind had evolved from apex predators, with reflexes honed by millions of years of hunting the swift prey of their homeworld. Marcus wasn't there. The human had shifted aside with minimal movement, barely seeming to exert effort. Zix Thara's momentum carried him past his target, and he felt something, a foot, impossibly, sweep his legs. The world spun, and suddenly he was staring at the ceiling, his back against the mat. "What?" he began, but Marcus was already helping him up. "Lucky shot!" Zix Thara snarled, his pride stinging more than his back. He reset his stance, this time approaching more cautiously. Marcus simply waited, hands loose at his sides, weight balanced on the balls of his feet. Zix Thara feinted left, then drove forward with his full weight behind a devastating straight punch. The blow would have shattered a Vorthon's carapace, but again Marcus seemed to flow around it like water. This time, Zix Thara felt his own momentum used against him as Marcus guided his arm down while simultaneously driving an elbow into his solar plexus. The Krelak doubled over, gasping. Before he could recover, Marcus had moved behind him, and suddenly Zix Thara found himself face down on the mat with his arm twisted behind his back in a joint lock that promised agony if he struggled. "Yield?" Marcus asked politely, applying just enough pressure to make his point. "Never!" Zix Thara roared, using his superior strength to power out of the hold. He spun around, lashing out with his claws, but Marcus had already moved away. For the next several minutes, the pattern repeated. Every attack Zix Thara launched, whether with fang, claw, or brute strength, seemed to meet empty air. Meanwhile, Marcus landed precise strikes with surgical accuracy, never enough to cause serious damage, but always enough to disrupt Zixthera's balance or breathing. The watching cadets had grown silent. Even the instructor seemed transfixed by the display. "How?" Zixthera panted, sweat matting his scales. "Your species has no enhanced abilities, no natural weapons. How are you doing this?" Marcus paused in his defensive weaving. "You want to know the secret? It's not about being the strongest or the fastest." He gestured to himself. "Look at me. I'm probably the physically weakest person in this room." "Then how?" "Humans have been fighting each other for our entire evolutionary history," Marcus explained, easily avoiding another desperate lunge. "We developed something your species apparently never needed: technique. We turned fighting into a science, an art form. We studied leverage, timing, anatomy. We learned that the strongest tree is the one that bends with the wind." As if to demonstrate, Marcus caught Zixthera's next punch, redirected it, and used the alien's own force to send him tumbling across the mat once again. "My grandfather fought in the Sol Defense Wars," Marcus continued conversationally as Zixthera struggled to his feet. "My father was a mixed martial arts champion before joining the Space Force. I've been studying combat systems from Earth's every continent since I could walk. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, Aikido, we have hundreds of fighting styles developed over thousands of years of warfare." Zixthera charged one final time, roaring in frustration and humiliation. Marcus stepped forward to meet him, and suddenly the massive alien found himself airborne, thrown by his own momentum in a perfect hip toss that sent him crashing to the mat with enough force to rattle the floor. This time, he didn't get up immediately. "Yield!" he gasped, his pride finally broken along with his wind. Marcus extended a hand to help him up. "Good match. You've got incredible physical gifts. With the right training, you could be unstoppable." Zixthera stared at the offered hand, then slowly reached out to accept it. As Marcus hauled him to his feet, he couldn't help but ask, "What would have happened if I hadn't yielded?" Marcus smiled, and for the first time there was something predatory in it. "Then I would have had to show you what humans do when we stop playing around." Looking into those deceptively mild brown eyes, Zixthera suddenly understood why humanity had gone from a single world to a galactic power in just 1 century. It wasn't their technology or their numbers, it was that they had spent millennia learning how to win fights they couldn't win. Around them, the other cadets began to disperse, but Zixthera noticed they all gave the unassuming human a much wider berth than before. He was beginning to understand why.